Yeah, today the TBI and Sheriff Lawson said Summer's family does continue to cooperate in this ongoing search for the little girl. They say that at all points the family has continued to be assisting in this process.
Amy, thanks. And we want to point out here that TBI says the Wells family has been very cooperative with investigators throughout their search efforts.
Friends of the family tell us they're doing their best to keep their spirits up on day 9.
No law enforcement outside of the house today. Any reason for that?
There's no reason. We have had agents and officers to just touch base with the family on a daily basis. So they were there earlier. The family continues to cooperate at this time. If we have questions, they answer our questions. If we need them to come to the command post to clarify some information, they respond. So they've been very cooperative.
The Department of Child Protective Services confirmed today they are involved in the investigation into the disappearance of Summer Wells. They would not elaborate, though, on how they were involved. We are nearing 6 weeks since Summer Wells was reported missing from her home in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County, prompting a statewide Amber Alert and multi-agency search and investigation. That case not only spreading far with agencies from all around this area involved, but also with interest from around the world.
Yeah, Ansley Daniel spoke with the host of the J for Justice podcast, who had Don Wells on the podcast last weekend, where he confirmed how the Department of Children's Services is now involved.
Josh and Sarah, last week we told you the Department of Children's Services was involved in the Summer Wells investigation. Over the weekend, Summer's father, Don, confirmed on the J is for Justice podcast that their other children had been removed from the home.
The rumor is that they were taken out of the home. Were they taken from you guys?
Yeah.
Were they? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yesterday?
A couple days ago.
Jennifer Youngblood is the host of crime podcast J is for Justice. She has interviewed Wells before and saw rumors circulating on social media that the older children had been removed from the home.
I could tell when he answered the phone that he sounded broken to me. He did not sound like the same Don Wells that I spoke to, the week previous. He didn't sound hopeful. He sounded very depressed. And he confirmed that the boys were in fact taken a couple days prior.
In the almost 10-minute phone interview, Wells explained how the theories and speculation about what happened to his daughter are affecting him.
They come at me and said I had somebody, either posing or said they had the inside scoop with TBI and that they knew that I sold my daughter for drugs. And I flipped out. I believed that stuff. I believed it. Then I flipped out. I started drinking and everything else. That's why they took our kids.
Her YouTube channel has 46.5 thousand subscribers, and her interview with Don Wells from Saturday has been viewed more than 41,000 times. But Youngblood says she isn't interested in speaking with anyone but Summer's parents right now.
It makes people who might have beef with these people come out of the woodwork. And then it muddies the waters. It muddies the waters not only for the general public, but for law enforcement.
Youngblood says she will keep discussing the case on her show, but wants to be clear that finding Summer and the facts around what happened remain her focus.
Not facts surrounding, any gossip or drama that people have with Candace or with Don at this point. I think that's totally counterproductive. And I think that we need to keep the focus on that there's a 5-year-old little girl that is missing. And also there's 3 boys that are missing their sister.
News Channel 11 has reached out to both Don Wells and Candace Bly for confirmation and an interview regarding this. We have not yet received a response.
That was Ansley Daniel reporting. As always, if you have any information that could help locate Summer Wells, call TBI. The contact information is on your screen. You can email them as well. TBI asks you only submit credible tips.
I'm not going to talk to anybody, buddy. It's just, everything's so blown out of proportion in every way. I just can't do it. Okay. I'm sorry. I appreciate you. I respect you. The job you got to do, and I know you're up against the law. I know you're just trying to do, whatever. It's just, I cannot say a word. It's just, everything's so blown out of proportion. It's just unbelievable. I haven't
even been keeping up with what. I don't even. Did something happen? I don't even know what happened.
No, nothing's happened. I'm gonna get the $5 nacho fries box. I don't need the fries. Just give me some sweet things to go with it or something. Sure, that'll work. Yeah. And a Pepsi. That's it. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Sounds like I caught you at lunch, early
Well, that's
lunch or late breakfast.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm just
Can I just ask you if you can confirm or deny a couple of things that like a county commissioner called me and said that the boys had been removed by DHS from the
hold on, sorry.
Is that true?
Well, right now they're not in. It's not safe at my house. Let's put it that way. There's too much going on, and people are crazier than hell. And right now, it's just not safe at my house. There's too much going on, too many crazy people coming around trying to start stuff and everything like that.
Are you talking about like people, like amateur crime hunters and things like that?
There's psychos that walk up to my house in the middle of the night, and there's just been all kind of stuff going on. It's just not safe, at my house.
Are the boys? Are they in with family, or are they in state custody?
Yeah, I can't answer any questions, buddy. I'm not going to go there.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry. I know this is a really bad time.
Well, I respect you and the job you have to do, and I feel good, and I wish I could help you, but I can't.
Okay.
I just can't answer any questions.
Okay. All right.
People blow this out of proportion. They think my wife, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely insane, and it's not safe for my kids.
Well, I'm not talking about the crime or the missing child, but what's going on at your house? I mean, who's coming around your house?
All sorts of people. Juanita, for one, that thinks she's a psychic. She has some kind of special gift and all this crazy stuff. And we don't need her crazy ass stuff at our house. She claims to be a Christian, and then she claims to be a psychic, both on the same thing. How does that work? That don't work. If you're a Christian, God says you don't go there, period. Against God.
Mm-hmm.
So how can she claim to be a Christian and a psychic all in the same sentence? That don't make no sense.
Oh yeah, that's the first I've heard of that too. I know there's been psychics on TV or on YouTube and stuff, but I didn't realize they're actually coming to your house.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
What about anybody else coming up there to bother you?
Well, we've had a few people come at night. We spoke in the middle of the night. I had one. I don't think he'll be coming back to our house anymore, though.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, like I said, I can't speculate.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that all this is happening. I really am. I wanted to try to keep up with you about every other week and just, see if there's anything that I could do to help, or if your family needed anything. Or...
But all this speculation is getting worse and worse and worse. People are threatening us, and it's not safe. I feel good. My kids ain't. It's not safe at my house.
Mm-hmm. Did you leave also, or are you still there?
In my word, when we're hoping something happens, things will start getting safer. But I don't know. The way things are going, it's just getting worse and worse.
Has your family left that house?
No.
No. Are you still there?
I appreciate it. You have a good day, sir.
All right. Take care.
First tonight, the parents of Summer Wells tells News Channel 11 the state of Tennessee has removed their other children from their custody. It was 6 days ago that the Department of Children's Services first confirmed to News Channel 11 they were involved in the case of the missing girl who has now not been seen for 6 weeks. Ansley Daniels spoke with Candace Bly and Don Wells following a hearing in Hawkins County earlier today. She joins us live from Kingsport with details. Ansley?
Yes, Sarah, both Donald Wells and Candace Bly appeared in juvenile court around 1 p.m. earlier this afternoon in Hawkins County. After that appearance, I spoke with them outside where they both confirmed to me that their children were taken by the Department of Children's Services late last week. After that appearance, Summer's parents were emotional and declined to speak with me on camera. I did ask if they knew why their older children were removed from the home, and Candace told me that she would rather not say and wanted to be clear that Summer's disappearance and DCS's involvement with her other children are separate situations. She also told me that they now have a lawyer but would not share that lawyer's information. Don Wells told me that his older children are safer where they are now, but he did not elaborate or specify how. Due to this case involving minors and per Hawkins County's Justice Center's policy, I was not allowed to be in the courtroom or even take a phone or camera inside the lobby. They both walked into the center just a few minutes before their hearing, and upon arrival, they were escorted into a different courtroom away from the lobby from where everyone else was sitting. Right at 1 p.m., an officer came to get them to go into the juvenile courtroom. They left the annex separately, but arrived and left together in the same vehicle. Again, due to this situation involving minors, the juvenile court office could not provide any information or paperwork. I also checked with the clerk's office, who is over circuit, sessions, and criminal court, to see if there was any new paperwork filed for either of them, and was told that there was nothing new. But back here at Borden Park in Kingsport, another prayer circle for their daughter will be held in about an hour, which marks the 6th week since she was last seen. Live in Kingsport, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Ansley, thanks. Now, the Churchill Rescue Squad announced today it will no longer be the lead agency in the search for Summer Wells, saying the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office is now in charge of future ground searches. Meanwhile, the Amber Alert for Summer Wells issued by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation remains active. TBI says they've received just under 1,070 tips in the case, but have yet to get a solid lead on where Summer might be. If you have information you think could help locate her, contact TBI. If you see her, call 911 immediately.
I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us here on Closing Arguments. And this story is so heartbreaking. We're talking about a 5-year-old girl who went missing and has not been found. It's all taking place in Tennessee. It's a story we've been covering for some time. Take a look. There's her face, her picture. It's been put on billboards, posters. It's all over. People are posting, reposting, all looking, hoping, and praying that they can find Summer Wells. There she is. And tonight we have some updates on the family of this missing angel, Summer Wells, who disappeared nearly 6 weeks ago. Over the weekend, Summer's father, Donald Wells, confirmed that Summer's brothers were removed from the family's home during an interview with J is for Justice podcast. Here is some of what he said.
Are the kids okay?
They're fine. They're fine.
The rumor is that they were taken out of the home. Were they taken from you guys? Were they? Oh no.
Yeah.
Yesterday?
A couple days ago.
I'm so sorry.
Right now, with everybody attacking us and all this stuff going on, right now, it's probably better for them.
WJHL reporter Ansley Daniels spoke with Summer's parents, Donald and Candace Wells, after a hearing yesterday, and is joining us live tonight with more. Ansley, great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having us back on. I did actually speak with Don Wells yesterday, as well as Candace. There was a court hearing yesterday here in Hawkins County. Now, I want to be clear that we were not allowed in the courtroom. I was not even allowed to take my phone or Apple Watch or anything like that into the lobby. I had to leave all of that into the car. So I was only allowed to take a pen and a notepad in to the lobby yesterday. They got there around 1 o'clock, right when their hearing began. They were immediately escorted into another area. And when they came out, that's when I had the opportunity to speak with both of them, where Candace Bly first walked out. She confirmed to me that the boys had been removed from the home late last week. Yesterday, she did not tell me why. She said that she would prefer to not explain why they had been left, or about why they had been taken by the state. Now, she did say that they have retained an attorney, but she wanted to make clear that this was a separate situation from her daughter being missing from their home. A few minutes later, Don Wells walked out of the Justice Center, and I spoke with him. He also confirmed to me that the boys had been taken, and he did mention something similar to what he said on the podcast. He said that the boys were safer where they were in state custody. Now, he did not explain to me why. He didn't give me any reasoning as to why they were safer. He just said that he believed that they were safer there. Now, yesterday, we also checked with the clerk's office. There is no new paperwork on this, but when it comes to situations involving minors, typically it's pretty a standard procedure for them to not release any paperwork or to not allow us into courtrooms and things of that nature. But again, both of her parents wanted it to be made clear that this was a separate situation from Summer being missing.
Let me ask you, Ansley, because you're there. When you said safer, a couple things come to mind. Sometimes in these super high-profile cases like this, there could be a lot of people kind of roll into town. Maybe you don't want the kids near them, all this attention that they're getting as well. Do you think that played any role in it based upon what is happening near and around their home and in the community?
That certainly could be a reason as to why they were removed. I will say on the podcast, Don Wells did mention that he had an episode of drinking over the weekend. Again, we are not sure if it's correlated at all. We just know that he mentioned it. He said that was the reason why on that podcast. However, yesterday when I asked Candace, she didn't want to give me the reason as to why they were taken. But you're right. There is a lot of talk about this case. It's definitely, made waves here in our community in Northeast Tennessee. There are people from all over the nation and the world watching this case right now. So that certainly could be a reason as to why they were taken. But again, there are prayer circles happening every week for Summer in the Kingsport community, which is about 30 minutes from where she lives. And her mother has been showing up to some. At the last one 2 weeks ago, Summer's brothers were there, but at the one last night, it was only Summer's mother as well as her Sunday school teacher. So, there have been people too that have been coming from all over the nation to those. So that, definitely does play into your theory some.
And how about the latest in searches? Have there been more searches? And if so, do we know anything about results? Was anything found?
There was another search over the weekend. EquiSearch Midwest came back. They were here in the beginning stages of this search. They came back over this past weekend. Unfortunately, though, nothing came up of that search, especially nothing that we're aware of at this time. However, yesterday we did receive an interesting release from the Churchill Rescue Squad. They were the lead agency on the ground search. And yesterday, after that search was completed over the weekend, they told us that they are no longer the lead agency for the ground search, and that everything will now go through the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office unless the Sheriff's Office needs them to assist. We aren't really sure why that is. Yesterday, we did reach out for an interview with Tim Coop, who is the incident commander of ground search operations, or was for this case, but he said that he was not interested in furthering the release that he sent out yesterday, just that he was no longer the lead agency on the ground search.
All right, Ansley, stay with us. I want to bring two more folks into the conversation tonight. Joining us in Atlanta, Georgia, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, former senior investigator for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, and forensics media analyst Joseph Scott Morgan, and in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, and author of Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. Mike King is with us. Great to have you both here. Joseph Scott Morgan, let me start with you. Your reaction to the latest developments involving the family, that the siblings have been removed from the home.
Well, there's any number of reasons why people are separated from one another. Let's remember, these children were that first point of contact. They had these immediate recollections. And one of the things that, police officers are taught early on in their training is that if you have witnesses, you want to keep them separated so that the stories can't get jumbled up. That's a possibility here, and you're dealing with young, delicate minds at this point in time. Secondly, what level of danger was there? You know, people keep using this word safe, safe, safe. What level of danger was there in this dwelling, at this residence, in the surrounding area? Why would they feel compelled to have this need to extricate these children from this location? And then, you know, you have this familial dynamic. You really wonder, do the police have something else in mind here? Are they looking at something else? Has the situation become untenable in that residence? Remember what was mentioned just a few moments ago, the dad actually admitted to having a bout of drinking. That's certainly an environment that you would not want these young children in. My Lord, they've been subjected to enough at this point.
Mike King, your reaction to these latest developments involving the family?
Yeah, I think Joseph's right on target. The questions that I guess I have are, was it something related to the investigation, or was it entirely separate from that? And it would appear with Don's comments about the drinking, and he mentions other things which he doesn't really clarify, that it might be that that family also acknowledges that with the stress that they're under with a missing 5-year-old daughter, that they're not giving the attention that these children deserve. There are certainly questions about whether the home is a safe environment for the children anyway. And so there might be a number of reasons, but I particularly like the idea, Vinny, that this gives investigators an opportunity to really lock down whether that child entered the home, whether she went into the basement, whether she could have exited that basement door, whether there was someone else. There are so many things that they are pivotal in understanding, and I think it's a great opportunity for forensic examinations.
Joseph, what do you think about the sheriff taking over the search efforts, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department?
Well, he's going to have more. He has broader resources. I think he can call things to bear, call people up, bring in reserves, this sort of thing. Sheriff, it goes. It's well known that sheriffs are, there's a reason they're referred to as the high sheriff. They're some of the most powerful people in a particular county, and so you want that individual on point. One of the things that I'm really thinking about here, Vinny, relative to this search, and I don't want to bury the lead and jump ahead, but one of the things I'm thinking about is that we have had so many boots on the ground in this case. My assumption is that they have used all manner of canine tracking at this point, everything from looking for a living human being to cadaver dogs, this sort of thing. And it would seem, at least, and we can't verify this obviously, that there is no scent that has been determined. I'm thinking out on this property, this is a vast area. Are there abandoned wells? Are there sinkholes? I've visited this area and camped up there with my family. I can tell you there are caves up there. There's all kinds of little nooks and crannies that folks can get into, but they're not picking up on any kind of scent. So you're not just going to have a young girl that's barefooted, that's this age, that's going to wander off in a straight line and leave this grid area here. I'm still of the opinion that she has been spirited away somewhere.
Ansley, can you kind of fill us in on the extent of the search efforts? How many searches, how quickly after she disappeared they began, and where they've been focused?
The search began immediately, from what I understand, when that 911 call came in. I know that search, the initial night, went into the wee hours of the morning. Now, I think that they broke off for a little bit and then resumed daylight. I think they broke off around 3 or 4 and then kind of came back at daylight. And then after that, the searches went on for 13 days in that area, with more than 1,000 people searching for more than 160 agencies, not only across the state of Tennessee, but other states as well across the Southeast. I think that, your point to the cadaver dogs and the other dogs that have been here searching, is a very interesting point that you brought up. We learned a little bit about that last week in a communications meetings from EMA directors in Hawkins County. They mentioned that they, had to use some of their supplies to take the dogs further out into the woods on different ATV units so they wouldn't get as tired. So we do know that dogs were used. They were been told that they've searched more than a 4-mile radius near the home, but nothing has come up, which is just leaving us with more questions than answers most days.
Yeah, Mike King, that's not a great place to be, with more questions than answers. So what's next? Where do we go from here, Mike? If these searches, and these are vast searches, you've got Texas or Midwest EquiSearch coming in more than once. Yeah. You've got all law enforcement, and they're coming up empty. Where do we go?
Yeah, I think you got to go back to ground zero and solve that problem first. So the interviews with mom and dad and grandmother and the boys continues to be an extremely important piece of this puzzle. You got to come up with a reason why she would leave the property, and if it would have been because she was targeted in some way or just an opportunistic kind of thing. But we can't rule out the fact that this tyke could have wandered off, and just like we've talked about, there are so many places she could have tucked up under a bush or something. But as time goes on and with the temperatures the way they are, there would start to be signs if she were somewhere out in the open. So it makes you worry about things like those wells or those little caverns where she might crawl.
I want to take a listening and remind folks, this is Candace Bly, Summer's mom, speaking and kind of giving us an idea of what happened. And this is the interview from WJHL, of course.
Me and my mother and her were planting flowers, and we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers, and I said okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV, and I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone.
Ansley, Daniel, let me ask you, has anything changed in what the parents are saying happened? Have they added to it, elaborated on what happened that day?
To me personally, they have not. That's been their story, and Candace and Dawn have both stuck to that for the most part. The only thing that I would say that might bring a little bit of question is that time frame. She mentions 2 minutes. Where Summer went inside and Candace was outside with her mother. She mentions that there was a 2-minute time span there, but a lot of people, like I say, myself included, question, could she have walked off and gone that far away within that 2-minute frame? And then, there's also the question of, kind of what led up to that moment that she went missing. What happened during the day? There's been a couple of different scenarios there, but unfortunately, for the most part, that story has stuck the same. So we still, again, don't really know what exactly happened that night in Beach Creek.
Ansley Daniel, WJHL, always great to have you on the program. Really appreciate your reporting and your insight. Thanks so much.
I hope that she comes back, yes. I wonder, yeah.
I did ask Dawn about Summer's older brothers who were earlier confirmed to be in Child Protective Services custody. All he could say is, quote, the boys are safe and doing good, end quote. He is also pleading with anyone that has credible information to please come forward and help bring his daughter home.
Discusses the toll this has taken not only on investigators, but Summer's family as well.
From local news to Court TV, YouTube, and now Dr. Phil, the disappearance of Summer Wells is going beyond the Beach Creek community of Hawkins County. All with one goal, though, for her to be found.
We would rather not do these things at all. We'd rather our life to go back to normal, and we just wish Summer could come home.
The Wells' recent trip to LA to film for Dr. Phil brought up a lot of pain from the months their daughter went missing.
Just brought up a lot of emotion, very emotional.
The older children of the Wells family are in custody of Child Protective Services, a continual reminder of their lives being upside down, especially during the filming.
All these kids running around on that beach just having an awesome time, and And here we are alone. Well, it seems like alone when you ain't got your kids, when you've had them all this time, and then all of a sudden you don't have them.
Another story at 6, day 2, and a planned search for missing 6-year-old Summer Wells is now over.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said teams scaled previously identified points of interest in Hawkins County. The agency says much of the area where Summer disappeared requires extra time to search thoroughly. They say it's extremely steep and dangerous. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniels spoke with Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, the lead investigator in the case.
Yeah, Ansley, the sheriff told you today that Summer's family now currently is not cooperating with law enforcement?
That's exactly right, Josh and Sarah. He also told me that the family has attorneys. Now, he did tell me that he didn't want to speak any further on the matter, but I did have the chance to speak with Summer Wells' mother and grandmother at the home where she disappeared earlier today. And her grandmother told me that she wanted to address the sheriff's comments about them not cooperating, as well as whether or not they have an attorney. And this was the first time that we have spoken with her on camera since her granddaughter went missing.
Mr. Lawson stated that Candace and the whole family is lawyered up. I can't speak for Donnie, and I know Candace hasn't because she's told me she hasn't, and I have not. If law enforcement wants to talk to me, TBI wants to talk to me, they have my phone number. They know when I leave the state. They know when I'm here.
Summer Wells' grandmother, Candace Hare, says she hasn't spoken with law enforcement since December 13th.
They have not contacted me since the YouTubers were down here in the driveway, and we asked them about trespassing.
Summer's grandma was with her granddaughter all day on June 15th, the day she disappeared. She walked me through what they did that day and said she and Summer were repotting cactus plants outside of her camper, and then
Summer came in and had a piece of peppermint, which is her favorite, and then she went in. She said, "Mama, I want to go play with the boys." Candy walked her back to the house, and she asked the boys to keep an eye on her, and that's the last time I seen her.
As the 9-month mark of when her granddaughter was reported missing approaches, she says the social media and online rumors have to stop.
If they want to help, that's great. But if they want to spread lies, that's a different story. Because that's all they're doing now is spreading lies. They're reaching and trying to figure out what lie can we spread now. And I'm tired of it.
Now, Summer's mother, Candace Bly, did not want to go on camera. However, she did write this statement for us on my notepad. You see it right there on your screen as well. It says, "I've never stopped talking to law enforcement. No, I have not lawyered up. I don't understand why this is being said. I can't speak for Dawn, and we are willing to do whatever to bring our daughter Summer home. Thanks for all the searchers." Now, she also did not want to address her new YouTube channel, Dr. Phil, or anything other than the comments by the sheriff made earlier today. However, she and her mother, Summer's grandmother, wanted me to reiterate how thankful they were for the searchers who are still out looking for Summer, as well as law enforcement for still keeping this investigation open and fresh. Live in Beach Creek, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Ansley, thank you. March 15th will mark 9 months since family members say they last saw Summer in the Beach Creek community at their home. The TBI statewide Amber Alert for Summer remains active tonight. They're waiting for calls with credible information to 1-800-TBI-FIND.
For our next Big 7 story, we bring an update to the investigation into Summer Wells' disappearance. The Hawkins County Sheriff now says the little girl's parents, Don Wells and Candace Bly, are not cooperating amid the ongoing investigation and have now hired attorneys. The sheriff would not speak any further regarding the Wells' attorneys, but did mention that no conversation or development led to the past 2 days of searches.
We actually have not stopped looking for Summer. This is just another part of it that we are looking over some ground we've been on before and maybe some new ground we hadn't covered, and just trying to turn up anything we possibly can to find this little girl.
As you likely remember, Summer was reported missing in June. The Amber Alert, by the way, for her is still active tonight. New here at 5, an update to the investigation into Summer Wells' disappearance.
The Hawkins County Sheriff says the child's parents, Don Wells and Candace Bly, are not cooperating in this ongoing investigation.
And is the family still cooperating? I know you said, obviously we know Don's there, but like the mother and all those other people, are they still cooperating?
No, they're not cooperating right now. They have attorneys.
Meanwhile, today marks the second day officials are putting boots back on the ground, searching for answers after Summer's disappearance. You know, yesterday we told you TBI agents and Hawkins County deputies were near Summer's home in the Beach Creek community, focusing on previously identified areas of interest.
We actually have not stopped looking for Summer. This is just another part of it that we are looking over some ground we've been on before and maybe some new ground we hadn't covered, and just trying to turn up anything we possibly can to find this little girl.
Summer was reported missing in June. The Amber Alert for her is still active.
Sheriff in Hawkins County says the parents of missing 6-year-old Summer Wells are not cooperating with the investigation. Summer disappeared from her home last June. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson gave the update on her parents and says they've hired attorneys. He also says misinformation on social media is hurting the investigation. TBI agents ask anyone with credible information to call the number there on your screen. It's 1-800-TBI-FINE.
Teams have returned to Northeast Tennessee to search for 6-year-old Summer Wells. She vanished from her Hawkins County home 9 months ago. It was June 2021. The county sheriff says right now Summer's family is no longer cooperating with their searches, saying the family has attorneys at this point. So far, the small-scale search hasn't yielded any new information, but the sheriff says they're not going to stop looking.
Not really any closer. We're still following every lead we get, the credible leads, and we're just not giving up. We want to find Summer. That's our main goal since day one.
They brought in some specially trained dogs as well with the search, 2 of them. Crews went back over places they've already searched. Summer's mother, Candace Bly, did issue a statement following the search saying she's happy crews are still looking for her daughter.
News Channel 11 dives deeper into the disappearance of Hawkins County 6-year-old Summer Wells. And for the first time, we're hearing from the lead investigator at the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office in charge of the case. Tonight he tells us what the Wells family relationship with law enforcement looks like now, as Summer's father remains in jail and lawyers are involved.
In February, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson told News Channel 11 that the Wells family had lawyers and were no longer cooperating. The lead investigator for the case explained how that, as well as how her father's current stint in jail on unrelated charges, hasn't moved this case forward.
The family has attorneys involved, and that is not a direct line of communication.
That tone is quite the change from what it was last year when Summer was first reported missing.
It was pretty good. We would show up about every day, make sure that they were okay, and had a decent line of communication with them.
About a month later, in July, Child Protective Services removed her 3 older brothers from their home and appointed attorneys to the case.
They have been appointed for other instances, but it bleeds over into this investigation as well.
Summer Wells' father, Don, was arrested late last year for driving under the influence and violating probation.
Going off of that, obviously we know that Don Wells is incarcerated here. Does that play a role at all in this investigation?
No, ma'am.
On February 7th, a judge ordered him to serve the remainder of his 11 months and 29-day sentence in the Hawkins County Jail.
With Mr. Wells, he knows when he first came into the institution, he knows at any time he wants to talk to let their staff know, and I'll get to him as quick as I can.
But Pruitt hopes the Wells family knows, despite the other legal troubles, they can reach out anytime.
Communication between me and the family have changed, but I hope that they still understand that they can come talk to me at any time they want to.
You can find all of today's coverage from our interview with Detective Pruitt, as well as more in-depth reports on the Search for Summer section of our website.
They're sometimes called the forgotten grievers, children like Summer Wells' 3 older brothers impacted by family trauma. For the brothers ranging in age from 7 to 13, a double trauma. First, Summer's highly publicized disappearance, and then just weeks later, their removal from their home and placement in state custody, where those brothers of Summer Wells have now spent nearly a year themselves. We talked about this with local therapist Julie Burks. She said intensive counseling in these cases like this is a must.
I can tell you, my heart's broken. I'm feeling sad, or I'm really ticked off because, you know, I'm missing this person or whatever. Whereas a child doesn't always have the tools yet or experience of life to understand and how to cope with that in a healthy way.
Brooke says children who get enough therapy and complete it can become very resilient and move forward and have a great life. Again, Summer Wells still missing tonight. If you have credible tips, call 1-800-TBI-FIND.
The parents of the Hawkins County 6-year-old at the center of a 1.5-year-long Amber Alert are criticizing the Department of Children's Services for the handling of their case involving their older children. Don and Candace Wells' youngest child, Summer Wells, has been the subject of a statewide Amber Alert since June 15th of 2021. A little over a month after she was reported missing from her home in the Beach Creek community, Summer's 3 older brothers were placed into DCS custody. In a recent blog post on the family's website, findsummerwells.com, the Wells claim they have not been in contact with their children in protective custody. The post, in part, says, quote, "They tell us we can no longer see or call our boys. Our assigned lawyer does not return calls. The regional DCS person did not respond to our email. Yet there are no charges against us. Nothing," end quote. This comes almost 3 months after Don Wells was released from jail after pleading guilty to a DUI in October of 2021. The couple says they have kept up to date with recent issues with the department, including a scathing recent audit. We have reached out to DCS for comment. We have not yet heard back. The Amber Alert for Summer Wells remains active and ongoing tonight. If you have any information about where she could be, call TBI. New tonight, we're speaking with the father of a missing Hawkins County girl for the first time since his release from jail. Good evening, I'm Sarah Diamond.
I'm Josh Smith. Yeah, it's been almost a year since we've last seen or heard from Donald Wells. An Amber Alert to find his daughter Summer Wells remains active 19 months after it was first issued.
Yeah, Don was released from jail back in October after serving time for a DUI charge. He broke his silence in a recent post on findsummerwells.com.
He criticized the Department of Children's Services in Tennessee about how they handled the case involving his older children. And now we're hearing from him in his first on-camera interview with News Channel 11 since getting out of jail.
Ansley Daniels spoke with him. Ansley, what did he tell you?
Well, Josh and Sarah, this is the first time we are hearing from Don since he was released from jail, and in the months following, with their sons in DCS custody and Saturday marking Summer's 7th birthday, Don Wells told me that he and his wife just want their family back together. It's been almost a year and a half since Summer Wells went missing from her home in the Beach Creek community of Hawkins County.
We have to prepare ourselves for a worst case scenario. You know, we could always hope for a good scenario, but you know, it can't be good because no matter what situation she's in, she's lost her freedom. Even if she's alive, she's lost her freedom. She can't be seen in public.
About a month after she was reported missing, her 3 older brothers were placed into DCS custody.
We really want our boys back home. If Summer was to be found today, we wouldn't be able to see her or talk to her, you know, and we can't talk to our boys.
Were they in touch with Candace when you were in jail?
Yes. Yeah.
But did something change when you got out of jail?
The only thing that changed is suddenly we weren't allowed to contact them at all.
Wells spent a little more than 8 months in the Hawkins County Jail for pleading guilty to a DUI charge.
One of the guards gave me a copy of the New Living Translation Bible, so I found that to be about the best book there was, so I read it several times because that's all there really was to do. And I was in 23-hour lockdown, so for my safety, they say.
And since he was released from jail, Wells says it's been a challenge to gain custody back.
They're doing nothing to help us. In fact, they're making us jump through all kinds of hoops, which is almost impossible to jump through all of them and hold a job and do all these things. They're making it real tough on us.
Wells told us he has been in touch with investigators over Summer's case.
There's not one shred of evidence. There's nothing. as much as they've looked, and as much as the work of this they've done, they haven't been able to come up with anything at all.
His wife, Summer's mother, Candace, has also been in and out of the hospital.
Candace has been in the emergency room 4 times for heart problems, and we're looking at eventually doing a major surgery, hopefully to correct the problem with her heart. But she's doing better, I think. But all this stress and stuff, it's not helping at all, I don't think, for sure.
This weekend marks Summer's 7th birthday.
It's just another day without her. I mean, I don't really want to celebrate her birthday without her.
A time where he will wonder what she would be like as a 7-year-old.
She was definitely going to be tall. She'd probably be as tall as me, I'd say, because she was growing so fast. And I'm sure she would be the same person, and she didn't have no qualms about taking on her brothers, that's for sure. She didn't hesitate to put them in their place real quick.
Don Wells says that even though there has not been any new leads in Summer's case recently, he's hopeful that by keeping her name in the news, there will continue to be some new information shared with police.
Ansley Daniel, thanks. Again, that Amber Alert for Summer Wells remains active. She has been missing since June of 2021. If you have any credible information that could help investigators find Summer Wells, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. You can also email tips to TBI@tn.gov.